Humans are weak, new to the galaxy, and not respected. The alien empire is ancient, powerful, and ruled by a feared queen. The main human character, a calm, clever male officer, is only there to observe. The queen is cold, distant, and known for destroying entire species. One wrong word could start a war. No one knows why the queen demanded a human presence. The queen questions humanity with sharp, mocking words. Other alien leaders laugh at humans. The human officer stays calm, polite, and brave. He notices the queen studies him more than the others. Her interest feels dangerous, not kind. Why is the queen watching him? Is she planning to kill him publicly? The queen mocks human weakness and emotions. Tension becomes unbearable. To break the pressure, the human officer makes a light, joking comment. If you were human, you would make a very beautiful wife. The room freezes. Guards raise weapons. Everyone expects his death. Welcome to my channel Starlight Sci-Fi Stories. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The hall was older than most stars. Its ceiling stretched so high that it faded into darkness, broken only by slow-moving lines of blue light that pulsed like a living heartbeat. Massive pillars carved from black crystal stood in perfect rows, each one marked with symbols from 1,000 conquered worlds. This was the Hall of Sovereigns. Every species in the known galaxy feared this place. And today a human stood inside it. Commander Elias Ward kept his back straight and his hands calm at his sides. He wore no armor, no weapon, and no protection. Only a simple dark uniform marked with the symbol of Earth's alliance. Compared to the towering alien leaders around him, he looked small. Weak. Humanity was new to space, too new. While other empires counted their history in tens of thousands of years, humans had barely stepped beyond their own solar system. They were here only because the Queen had demanded it. At the far end of the hall, upon a throne shaped from living metal, sat Queen Zyra of the Violian Empire. She was death given form. Her body was tall and elegant, covered in smooth silver-blue skin that reflected the light like polished steel. 4 glowing eyes watched the room without blinking. Long, blade-like horns curved back from her head like a crown made by nature itself. Every ruler present bowed deeply toward her. Elias did not. He lowered his head slightly, just enough to show respect but not submission. Several alien nobles noticed. Their expressions darkened. The Queen noticed too. Her gaze lingered on him longer than it should have. The air felt heavy, like gravity itself had grown stronger. This assembly, Queen Zyra said, her voice echoing through the hall without effort, has convened to judge the worth of the human species. A low murmur spread among the gathered leaders. Elias felt it then, the truth. This was not a meeting. It was a trial. Humans, the Queen continued, are loud, fragile and short-lived. They fight among themselves. They poison their own worlds, and yet they dare ask for equal standing. Her eyes locked onto Elias. Explain. Every eye in the hall turned toward him. Elias stepped forward alone. He could feel his heart beating, but his face stayed calm. He had trained his entire life for moments like this, moments where fear could not be allowed to show. Your Majesty, he said clearly, humans know we are not the strongest, we know we are not the oldest, but we learn fast, and we adapt. Several nobles scoffed. One reptilian lord laughed openly. Adapt, it hissed, you barely survive your own planet. Elias did not react. Maybe, he replied, but we survived anyway. The Queen tilted her head slightly. Survival alone is not worth respect, she said. Many insects survive. The insult cut deep. Still, Elias held his ground. Then judge us not by our strength, he said, but by what we choose to protect. Silence followed. The Queen's fingers tapped slowly against her throne. Tap, tap, tap. You protect nothing but yourselves, she said. Elias met her gaze. With respect, he said, that is not true. That was when the pressure changed. The guards along the walls shifted their weapons. Energy hummed faintly in the air. Elias knew he was standing on the edge of disaster. You challenge my judgment, the Queen asked. No, Elias said softly. I challenge the idea that strength is all that matters. A dangerous thing to say. The Queen stood. The entire hall trembled as she rose to her full height. She stepped down from her throne and began to walk forward. Each step echoed like thunder. She stopped only a few feet from Elias. Up close she was terrifying. Her eyes glowed brighter, her presence pressed down on him like a storm. You speak boldly for a creature whose bones break so easily, she said. Elias swallowed. Then, against all reason, he smiled slightly. Humans break, he admitted, but we also stand back up. The Queen stared at him for a long moment. Something unreadable crossed her face. Around them, the galaxy held its breath. Then she laughed. It was not loud, it was not kind. It was sharp and cold. How amusing, she said, a fragile male daring to speak with pride. Her gaze moved over him slowly. Too slowly. Tell me, human, she said, do you fear me? The honest answer was yes. But Elias answered truthfully anyway. Yes, he said, but fear does not mean silence. That answer surprised even him. The Queen leaned closer. In my empire, she said, fear means obedience. Then maybe that's why your empire is afraid, Elias replied before he could stop himself. The hall exploded in sound. Shouts, gasps, angry cries. Weapons powered up instantly. Elias realized what he had done. One sentence. That was all it took. The Queen raised a single hand. Silence fell instantly. She stared at Elias, her expression unreadable. You insult me, she said. Yes, Elias replied quietly, but not without reason. The Queen studied him again. Longer this time. Her eyes traced his face, his posture, his refusal to kneel. Something about him fascinated her. Humans are strange, she said. You challenge gods with jokes and courage. Elias exhaled slowly. Then, to break the tension, to stop himself from shaking, he did something reckless. Something stupid. He gave a small shrug. Well, he said, forcing a light tone, if nothing else, Your Majesty, you would make a very beautiful wife. The words hung in the air. Frozen. Dead silence swallowed the hall. Elias felt his blood turn cold. What did I just do? Guards lunged forward instantly. Energy blades ignited. Several nobles shouted for his execution. Even Elias knew this was the end. He closed his eyes. Then, stop. The Queen's voice cut through everything. The guards froze mid-step. Elias opened his eyes. The Queen was smiling. Not a cruel smile. Not an angry one. It was slow, thoughtful. Dangerous. A wife, she repeated softly. She stepped even closer. Under Violian law, a spoken courtship before witnesses was binding. Every noble in the hall realized it at the same time. Their faces drained of color. The Queen turned back toward her throne and raised her voice. The human has made a formal proposal, she declared, and under our laws. She looked back at Elias. I accept it. The hall erupted into chaos. Elias stood frozen, his mind completely blank. He hadn't meant it. It was a joke. A foolish human attempt to survive a moment of fear. And now, he belonged to the most powerful being in the galaxy. The Queen sat back upon her throne. Prepare the Empire, she said calmly. The union will proceed. Guards moved again, but this time not to kill him. To escort him. As Elias was led away, his last thought echoed in his mind. Had he just saved humanity? Or condemned it forever? The galaxy reacted in fear. Within hours of the Queen's declaration, the news spread across every major star network. A single human male, fragile and short-lived, had been accepted as consort to Queen Zyra of the Violian Empire. Most thought it was a trick. Others called it madness. Some called it war. On Earth, leaders stared at their screens in silence. Humanity had not asked for this. They had not planned it. And now the fate of their entire species rested on the words of one man who had made a joke at the wrong time. Or perhaps the right time. A prison made of gold. Commander Elias Ward's new chamber was larger than any building he had ever lived in. The walls shimmered with living metal. Soft light flowed across the floor like water. Servants moved silently, offering food he could barely recognize. It was not a cell. But it was not freedom either. Elias stood near the wide window, staring out at the endless city of the Violian capital. Towers twisted upward like blades toward the stars. Ships moved in perfect patterns, controlled, ordered, cold. Everything here was powerful. Everything here was controlled. Just like the Queen. A soft sound came from behind him. He turned. Queen Zyra stood in the doorway alone. No guards. No weapons. Only her. You are not afraid enough, she said. Elias straightened. I'm very afraid. She stepped closer. Your heartbeat says otherwise. Elias let out a slow breath. Fear doesn't always look loud. She studied him again, as she always did. You understand that you are bound to me now, she said. There is no escape. I understand, Elias replied. Most would beg, she said, or rage. I already did something foolish once, he said calmly. I won't do it twice. For the first time, the Queen laughed softly. 2. Why the Queen chose a human. Days passed. Elias was brought before the Queen again and again, not as a prisoner, not as a guest. As a test. She asked him about Earth, about human wars, about human love, about why humans kept going when logic said they should stop. He did not lie. We fail, he told her, a lot, but we believe tomorrow can be better. Belief is weakness, she said. Belief is survival, Elias replied. That answer stayed with her. One night, the Queen dismissed all servants and guards. She stood beside him at a balcony overlooking the city. My empire is dying, she said suddenly. Elias turned to her in surprise. We are strong, she continued, but we are empty. Fear holds us together, fear breaks us apart. She looked at him. You laughed in my presence. No one has done that in centuries. Elias nodded slowly. Humans laugh when we're scared. And you stood your ground, she said. You spoke truth without power. She faced him fully now. That is why I chose you. 3 enemies in the dark. Not everyone accepted the Queen's decision. The noble houses were furious. A human consort threatened their power, their traditions, their control. Whispers filled the palace halls. Plots formed in shadows. On the day of the Union ceremony, the capital world was packed with ships. Leaders from across the galaxy gathered to witness history. Or to stop it. Elias stood in ceremonial clothing, simple and human. No armor, no weapon. Queen Zyra stood beside him, radiant and deadly. As the ritual began, energy surged through the air. Then, the lights went out. Explosions rocked the palace. Screams echoed. Assassins poured into the hall, weapons blazing. Protect the Queen, someone shouted. Guards rushed forward, but there were too many enemies. One assassin broke through. Straight toward Queen Zyra. Elias moved without thinking. He stepped in front of her. The energy blade struck his shoulder. Pain exploded through his body. He fell to one knee, blood dark against the shining floor. The assassin raised the blade again. Queen Zyra roared. She struck the attacker down with raw power, her eyes burning with fury. She turned to Elias. He looked up at her, teeth clenched in pain. Guess, he said weakly, this makes us even. For the galaxy watches a human bleed. The attack was broadcast live. Across the galaxy, billions watched a human protect a queen who could have let him die. Humans were not strong. They were not immortal. But they stood anyway. The assassins were defeated, the traitors exposed. The ceremony resumed in silence. Queen Zyra took Elias' hand carefully. Her voice carried across the hall. This human chose to stand before power, she said. He chose loyalty without fear of death. She turned to the nobles. He is my equal. The words shattered centuries of belief. 5. A new empire. In the cycles that followed, change spread through the Violian Empire. Human diplomats were welcomed. Human ideas were studied. Not conquest, not fear, but cooperation. The Queen ruled with strength. Elias advised with empathy. Together they ended brutal laws, freed enslaved worlds, turned enemies into allies. Humanity rose not through force but through trust. 6. The final choice. One night, Elias stood once more beside the Queen, watching the stars. You could have chosen anyone, he said. She nodded, yes. Why keep me, he asked. She looked at him. Because you reminded me what it means to protect, not dominate. Elias smiled softly. Careful, he said, that's how humans spread. She laughed. The galaxy changed that day. Not because of weapons. Not because of fear. But because a human made a joke. And meant every word that followed. Final line. The galaxy learned a truth it would never forget. Never underestimate a human who refuses to kneel. And never underestimate the power of standing together. End.